Okay. So, Chintan, now we will shift our conversation towards organization, teams, and an individual. So, my first question is how to choose the right organization.
That's a matter of research. So if you believe in what the organization does, then that helps. Not everybody really has that kind of view of what the organization does, because if it's a product based, then it would have some product, and that some product is going to target some set of consumers in the market, right? There is a consumer group. So case one, if uh, people are motivated with what the organization is doing, and I think that really ticks a checkbox. There are certain companies which are consultancy companies, like service-based companies. They don't really have a product of their own, right? So it makes sense to figure out that what sort of customers they are engaging with. Are they stuck to a certain domain where they claim expertise, like a healthcare domain? If somebody, so basically, one needs to see what an org does and needs to really, want to be a part of that. Otherwise, it really doesn't work on a longer time basis. I mean, people can earn money. Money could be a motivational factor that if I join a certain organization, I am going to be financially well off. But that's one thing. I mean, it's just 12 occurrence in a year, right? Every month we get a salary. But then you would have to deal with the kind of work every day. You would have to deal with the kind of people that comprises the organization every day. You would have to deal with the challenges, the ask, the managers, and everybody, right? So I think working on a daily basis is quite a larger part than just a financial motivation. So one should really be motivated by what the org does and how it does it. Right? What I usually do in a couple of interviews, what I have done is that I tend to put a request to the organization that let me work or just observe and be a part of one of your teams in the organization, just one of your team. Let me pair with a couple of developers, or if they are mobbing up, then let me be a part of that mob. There is a mob programming sort of thing where more than two people come together and they program on a projector or something. So I literally ask them if I can be a part of that, because I don't really want to go by words. I want to see how things are done on daily basis, and only then I can confidently decide if I can really be a part of that org. Well, it might not be possible with most of the orgs, and there are different ways to find out. If you have any trustworthy source or a friend or an acquaintance working in that organization, you can definitely ask that how things are conducted. But it makes sense to know well about the organization before deciding to join it. So that's the first approach I would say, to explore as many details of the ways of working.
Right. And yeah, I think because what you said actually answers my next question as well, partially, which was like, what should be the changes in the hiring process, which I think the company should have this mechanism where a person can work for a couple of hours and just try to get the vibes whether this will work or not. So yeah, but apart from that, what are the changes that do you think should be in the hiring approach?
Well, I've been involved in interviewing since a long time, and my own ways of interviewing people have really changed from interviewing to just having a good conversation. So somebody might say that I've gone pretty liberal, but there are certain strong points that I would like to put for the interview process. Normally, when early in my programming days, what I used to do in interviews is to ask specific questions about how do you know How well do you know the Java programming language, for example, or the C language? Do you know a certain design pattern and stuff? I think none of them really matters. So what I've switched to now is I usually ask about what people are currently doing in their projects, how well they understand their own project, and how well they understand the design and architecture of their own project on a higher level, how well they understand what purpose uh, there is to the software that they are writing and how it is being fulfilled. Are you really seeing the value out of the things that you are doing? I think that's the first thing that I always tend to ask and understand. And also there is a one, so this is kind of leaking some tricks to passing an interview, but I think it really doesn't matter, because the secret is not really in knowing the questions. Personally, I never ever prefer to prepare for an interview. I just reflect to what I have done in the past couple of years, and that's all. That's the preparation of interview, because you cannot really prepare for an interview overnight. You just have to know what you did and just express your experience. So
Right. Yeah.
yes, the secret question is, what I ask to candidate is, they've been involved with their own project. They know about the design, they know about the architecture, they have worked there as well, and they know every stages of software development life cycle. So given a power like that Nayak movie, Ek Divasiya Prime Minister or something, given a power, what would they really change and why in their project? And there has to be something, because just like humans have entropy, bodies degrade, food gets rotten, software also rots, right? Over a period of time. Doesn't matter how cleanly you would have written it in 1986. If it's 2026, it's already rotten. So there is always an answer to what you can change if given a day's power to change everything. And that answer holds a lot of importance. It holds a lot of brownie points in your interview. So normally the interview, coming back to your question, that how people should prepare for the interview, or
how the hiring process should be changed,
how the hiring process should be. I think hiring process should really focus on the actual things that people are going to do on daily basis, and not focus on the bookish things that people really ask and can easily get answers to on the internet. It really doesn't make sense, because if somebody knows a design pattern from the internet, then that person would really do it well in Java. But then when you switch from Java to Kotlin, that design pattern guy is going to fail miserably. So I think it's not important to ask that sort of questions. Rather, it's important to understand how a candidate's experience has been so far, and how well he understands what is the level of enthusiasm that he brings to the team in telling his current team that this is the standard, how it has changed, and this let's change our code to follow this standard, because I see there is a lot of performance gain and there is a lot of readability gain, because the software outlives its members, right? Me and you, probably we are going to be a part of the team 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, but then the software stays for more over that period. So there are going to be new people who come and read that software, and they should be able to understand what is happening, what is going on there. So it makes sense to have readability in your software. Right. So that's sort of stuff I think is more important to discuss. And interviews are conversations. You don't really, interviewers are not really put on a pedestal that they have a right to just fire questions and expect correct answers in a single shot. That's not really how it works. Rather, it's a conversation. So whenever we interview, there is a coding round that we conduct, and we don't really throw a code and ask the candidate to solve it. We give it them way ahead of time to familiarize themselves with what the problem is, to build certain thoughts around the problem. Maybe 2 days or a week's time, they are free to choose. But whenever they come in the interview, we pair with them. So it's not just them who are solving the problem. It's us as well with them, right? So that's the pairing thing we do, because a simple logical reason is that is exactly what we are going to do on a daily basis.
On a daily basis, right?
Yeah. So the hiring process should basically change to reflect what people do on the daily basis, and not really, they do the idealistic stuff that,
right,
how well you know this book.
True, right. Okay, Chintan. So now I'll move to one of my favorite topics, is that how much, how should an employee be motivated?
Money.
Right. Okay. Then
yes. Money is yes. It's like a obvious thing. But I remember when I interviewed for my current organization, when I was appearing for an interview, and this one line, my business unit lead, he told me, and it really stuck with me. He said that I am not going to ask what you are currently drawing from your current organization. I am not really interested in your current salary. What I'm going to do is the things that we are hiring you for, I'll see what the market is really paying, and I'll pay you 10% higher than what the market is paying, because when you join, I don't want you to worry about your financial situation, even at a single point of time, as long as you are with the organization. I don't want you to even think about it. Rather, you should be thinking on how we can solve the problems that our customers are having. So yes, money is a motivational factor, true, but I think that is a reflection of how somebody is approaching work as well. If somebody is just motivated by money, I think it's a dangerous notion to have, because the organization would seriously evaluate that, and that evaluation might not be as good as the person would expect, right? So yes, it's like a ping pong thing, where organization should also say that I don't want you to worry about your financials, rather worry about the problems that our customers are facing, and try to find a good solution to that problem. And I think it's on the employees' part as well, to not just stay stuck to the financials, right? But rather look for the kind of work they are getting. So it's not just the money. There is amount of work-life balance that one expects in his life. I mean, people in their prime time, they are capable of running hard, which is fine, but the prime time expires pretty soon. And we are with the organization for a longer amount of time. So we need to really figure out what is the amount of work-life balance that we want. Because when we say work-life, there are two words, work and life. I think work is just a part of life. It's not life. Life, if you see, is much, much, much larger than what work is. So definitely work-life balance is something that I would see, is an motivating factor for working somewhere.
Right.
Because I remember a decade back or even more, I interviewed some firm in Ahmedabad, and the kind of business they were doing, they were not into healthcare. They were not into any life and death sort of industry. So they were into this business intelligence tooling, right? And they said that we have to work on Saturdays. So I just I just turned down the offer on the Saturday term because had it been a nursing firm, I can understand that there are emergencies, there is a life and death matter. If it is an air traffic controller, I can understand that. If it's some rocket science or satellites, I truly understand that. But if we are doing some business intelligence and data mining, I think that can wait, and I would not really at that point prefer to work on Saturdays. It's just that how the industry is built, right? I mean, don't really take this literally, and being a marketing manager in the bank, go back and tell your boss that I'm not going to work on Saturdays. That won't work. But it's just that how IT industry is built, and I remember preferring work-life balance at that point in my life. Correct. So I think that's pretty important, and that's motivating to me. And I think another point is that do we find good amount of bonding in our work culture? Do we find people who we can share our regular life problems and frustrations with? I think that is very motivating, because one should really feel in the morning that I really want to go to the office because I need to talk to this person desperately now, right? So that it's a second home. The amount of time that we are awake, I think we spend 30-40% of that time in our office and with our office colleagues. So there are lots of motivational factors around in the office, but the only worry that I have is that all those factors should not really get clouded by the financials, because money is a powerful substance, and it's a burning charcoal, and if not handled properly, then it tends to cloud our judgment and cloud all the other motivations and benefits that we are getting out of the organization.
So when you mention about the colleagues and all, my next question is about the office politics. How do you manage that?
Well,
or how one should manage that. I'm not. Okay, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
That's really a difficult one, because I would not really have a complete view about it. I've never been into that sort of things. Been pretty transparent and clear all the times. But having said that, I also agree that it is a real thing, office politics. It's not that it's just an illusion or just in the minds. There are things. And I think first of all, being calm and composed is the first way. You cannot be really impulsive and break the tables. I've seen people screaming from a room where the appraisals were being distributed, and the manager would silently say that please understand, and the employee would scream that I don't want to understand. That's not my choice right now. Why should I understand? Okay. Yeah, that was a funny incident, but I think yeah. Okay. So the only way I would really deal with it is with just being calm and composed and not really think about it a lot, because what is meant to be for you will happen sooner or later, I think. And office politics is such a thing that to deal with it, you need to have some very typical soft skills, the power of words, and the power of ignoring things, or the power to say no to certain things, and then also the power to, once you have done something, do not really expect any predetermined output. So don't worry. I think it's idealistic that karma kar and phal ki ichha na kar, but I think that comes in very handy while dealing with office politics. You just do your stuff and forget about what's happening or what you're getting back. Yeah. So the lower priority stuff, you would have to be ready to give up and just focus on how the higher priority stuff you are going to achieve.
Right. Okay.
And if I was a manager, right, and I would notice that there is some sort of politics going on in my teammates,
Mm-hmm.
what I would do is I would just introduce a level of transparency. By saying that, what I mean is put everything on the board, who has achieved what, and uh, whatever somebody has done, what is the level of impact that they have created for the team, who everyone really goes to all the time for their problems, and those sort of thing. I would really put up on some board where everybody can see. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
format is also a challenging stuff. That how would I really put it up?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in form of appreciations. That
Mm-hmm.
even though they are appreciations and there are gestures that people are clapping for you, it's
Mm-hmm.
also a note, a record of somebody has really outdone themselves. So when that person really gets a return on his efforts, nobody else should really feel that he's not deserving. Right? This is just an example, but what I'm trying to say is that introduce a level of transparency so that there is no room for office politics.
Right. Okay, fine. Okay, my next question is about how to be a good team member.
Oh, that's a difficult job because
Okay.
being a team member, it's really you can always say yes to certain things and be likable by everybody and fail at all those things. It's like jack of all and master of none sort of things. Yeah. So saying yes would really not make you a good team member. But being mindful about how much you can do and how much you can be available to help out the team members whenever they need, how much you can really ask for help, all that really matters. So being a good team member is not about having the tools to solve everybody's problem and always saying yes to people. It would rather, it's like axing our own feet. It would not really work well. So being mindful about what you can do for the project, what you can do for the team, and how you can really help out, how you manage your time, and always kind of see if somebody has any problem, then you can help. Letting people solve their own problem, do not interfere a lot, because that's how people learn. So I remember one incident with this. I was working with a large firm, and there was this time of the year when all the appraisals were and the promotions were being handed over. So there were developers, and then there were consultants, and then there were senior consultants. So there were two consultants who were equally good, and one of them was really promoted to senior consultant, but the other one was not.
Okay.
He was a good team member, and he did really not question that why am I not being promoted. But his manager actually shared the story with me, and the reason why he was not promoted. That consultant was a fantastic problem solver, but over a period of time, what was noticed that all the developers that are working with him are not progressing. They are still doing the same things that they were doing a year back. So if the developers are not progressing, if the developers are not really able to improve the thought process, then what's the point of him being a consultant? If he is not able to spread the progress around him, then he is not really ready to go next level. So the point of being a good team member is that you are progressing, and make sure that the people around you are also progressing into whatever goals you have.
What a unique and different perspective that you shared. Yeah.
And if both of those things really happen in a very balanced way, then I think you are a very good team member.
Right.
And as I said, the progress can't just be financial, right? The progress could be the removal of fear. Whenever somebody is given a new task which involves a new technology, there is always a fear that would I be able to do this? If not, then how would really people look upon me? There is a normal fear. Even in the college days, I've seen people being afraid of keyboard. What will happen if I really press a key which I do not fully understand? What will happen after pressing? So that's the fear, right? And there has to be somebody who tells that person that this is just a machine, nothing will go wrong. If the key is right there, then it is meant to be pressed. Just press it and find out what will happen. That will improve your knowledge. Like what happens if this key is pressed. So I think that sort of interaction, if it is happening, then naturally we are a good team player, it would mean.
Chintan, so my next question is a little bit tricky, which is like, do you think IT people get paid more than any other industry? And if yes, why?
Well, in a way, yes. Because see, this IT, I believe it is a matter of partially being an artistic field because this notion of writing software and how to maintain, and it has been ever changing and changing without any empirical data. Because think about some industry which is manufacturing certain things, so that has been going around, like iron, shaping iron into making cartwheels. That has been going around for centuries, I believe. But the discovery of software is rather recent as compared to the other industries, right? So I think there is a overlap of art as well, and that makes it rather failure prone. If you see the amount of startups that are going on, I think more than 60% of them would really see failure in their initial days, and only 10% of them really emerge to become a multi-million business sort of thing. There are lots of failures and a lot goes into it. Having said that, the pay scales are justified. But on the other side, the flip side of this matter is that people have seen that there is a lot of money, and then there is a huge crowd that attacks the IT industry just with the wishful thinking sort of about the money part, that we would get higher wages, we would earn more, and would settle with a good financial situation, but the quality has degraded, right? And there is a lot of expenditure over years to really figure out that whatever we are buying, the resources that we are buying, is there any quality? If there is no quality, then let's discard. But that process is a costly process. You get somebody on board and you find out that the purpose, the goals of the org and the employee, they are not really matching. The employee is looking for something else in his life, and if he is looking for something else, then how would he be able to focus on what the goals of the organizations are, right? So at some point they would need to part ways, the org and the employee, and they would again need to start searching for somebody who has common goals. Now this process is a costly affair, right? You cannot say that I've found a match as an organization. I've found a match whose goals really wonderfully coincide with my goals as an organization, and I'm going to pay him like 25 lakhs per annum, right? And I'm interviewing a new employee, and that new employee tells me that you are already paying 25 lakhs to one of your existing ones. But my friend, we have not really evaluated if our goals really coincide. If you would really be able to add as much value as the existing employee really adds to my well-being. So it's a really, what do we call it? It's a hyped concept of salaries. And that is a problem in the IT industry, and IT industry is really spending a lot to face the challenges that come with that sort of hype. And that's why it really spends a lot, and that expenditure for the people is seen as a good income of money, but that is exactly a short income of money, right? It's not sustainable sort of stuff. Now the people who have really gelled well with the org and are working for the well-being of org, they are being paid a certain amount, and that it might be a little bit high, but I don't think it's too much as compared to other premium industries as well. So yes, IT people pay a higher salary. So there are two aspects we already discussed, right? Some people whose goals does not really align with the org's goal, I feel they are really being paid too much. So that's where the yes comes from. Like yes, there are higher pay scales because the new employee is really not able to add value, but still he demands an equal pay with the existing one. So that's where, yes, the salary is pretty high than the deserving part. And on the second side, the salary is at par, where the employee's goals and the employer's goals really align, and they are working for each other's well-being. So I think that's how it is a yes and no. And why is the situation of yes and no? Because people have seen money, and without even quality in their bags to offer, there are lots of salary demanders, and that's the problem. So had it been a nursing field or some specialization which is kind of hard to achieve and it requires some 8 years of study, you would not really see this. You would not really see people putting in injections of COVID vaccines, and they don't have a similar goal, and they are not really adding value. They give vaccines and they add value, right? So it's really a little bit different with the IT industry in that way, that there could be people who are hired, but they do not add value. And on that aspect, I would say yes, they are paid high than what they should be actually being paid.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're saying something.
But on the yes part, I think sorry, on the no part, I don't think the salaries are really extrapolated that way or inflated in any ways.
Okay.
Because they are doing well for a org, and I think all the IT industry, if you see, the organizations that are paying really well to their employees, those are the organizations which are the big ones in the market as well. They are the ones who are open-heartedly funding the natural calamities and the well-being of people. If you see all the big companies and the amount of charities that they are really doing, so I believe for the community as well, it's a very good cycle of money rotation. Right.
Okay.
So in a way, it's a good thing that is happening for our economy. Otherwise, only the builder lobby would have all the fun.
Okay, Chintan. So we started with the organization, teams, and now we're going towards the individual. Okay. So my next question is about, what if you find, your passion and profession are not matching, then what one should do?
I think that's the case with 99% of people. Passion and profession might not match, and that is okay. So profession is to keep the light burning, and it is never the case that you cannot really do both, because passion is life and profession is work, and there is a work-life balance sort of thing.
Okay.
So it kind of links back to our earlier discussion as well, where what should one look for in an organization to join? And I would say work-life balance, because I work, I have a passion. Also, the passion cannot be about just one thing in life, right? I have a passion about cleanliness. I bring that to my work. I have, and also I bring that to the kitchen when I am doing some stuff in a kitchen, right? I tend to keep my platform clean, and that is how I tend to keep my code clean. I am also passionate about music, so I sing whenever I get chance with my daughter. I try to learn guitar, and I have a passion for, in general, spreading love sort of thing, which has become kind of a controversial in humankind. So I do that with my dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think it cannot be just one passion. And also things are very much interwoven. So life, as we see, is not really black and white. It is very much interwoven. So if I say that I am passionate about music or singing or traveling, I think I can bring that to my profession in different ways. I can have music go on while I'm writing code. I can find people who are crazy about playing guitar in my workplace, and then we can connect over jamming sessions. I can travel and work from anywhere, provided my manager approves, for a week, somewhere from the mountains or somewhere from the beach. So there are always ways to find how to live both the things, profession and passion. And definitely there is no point where one really gets a choice of choosing one of the two. And as life and work are strongly interwoven, I think passion can be brought to work as well. And it cannot be just one passion that somebody can have. What delights you? Conversations delight you. Advait, you can have it in the team as well, where your profession is being exercised, right?
Okay.
So I think it's a mix of a lot of things, and the only thing is, please do not get worried if the passion and profession are not the same. It is not a big problem. A problem which is magnified by people or society or something. It is really not that big of a problem. So first of all, one should not really get worried about passion and profession not being the same thing. It's not that you are doomed for life and then now ab tumhara kuch nahi ho sakta hai wala sort of thing. Nothing of that sort. Both of them can be lived pretty well.
Right. Okay.